Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Wisdom Distillery. I'm your host, Shaman John, and that is the song stylings of prolific Austin singer-songwriter Craig Marshall. In this podcast, we have an interesting discussion about his long history as an Austin singer-songwriter and all the various iterations that he's explored throughout his long career. And if you stay tuned, Craig will offer us a little treat towards the end of our discussion. But for now, please indulge me while I play yet another little ditty of his before we get on with the interview. Enjoy.
Something on your mind, something you can't say too well, something on your mind. Could it be about me? It's a thin disguise.
Hey, welcome to another edition of the Wisdom Distillery. I'm your host, Shaman John, and in this edition, we're talking to my new amigo, Craig Marshall, who's an award-winning songwriter here in Austin, Texas. And we're just going to get into it a little bit in terms of what his history is here in Austin and as a performer, songwriter of multiple talents and multiple genres. And let's just begin with
All right.
kind of getting into a
Thanks, John.
a
Good to be here. Yeah.
So are you? We had this discussion a little bit the other night when you performed here. Where are you born?
I'm from New York originally.
Okay.
Upstate New York, around Syracuse.
Okay. And
But,
then
yeah.
when did you become a Texas man?
Oh, it's been a long time, over 20 years, 25 years. So I've been, moved here in early 90s.
Okay.
So.
And were
yeah.
you drawn to the music appeal, the music,
Yeah.
like, the narrative around Austin and
Yeah,
music and all of that?
even back then, I mean, they had something,
Yeah.
I came to play music. It had that, even back then, it had that label as being the live.
Music capital.
Live. Yeah, if you want to play live,
Yeah.
Austin, go to Austin. You had other choices of music industry like Nashville or, LA or something. But
Yeah.
but if you wanted to play live,
This was the place to
yeah, it seemed like that was, and it was affordable. And back then, it was
Right.
pretty,
so long ago.
it was easy to get a place and get a band and get gigs and
Yeah.
so that was the beginning.
Tell me a little bit about, just sort of give me a story of what you experienced when you first moved here in those years and what the scene was like, and did it meet your expectations, or was it disappointing, and what was the, how was the culture, if you will, like right now I feel like it's kind of fractured. That could be a projection, but I feel like it's very niche-y, it's got its own little cliques in different areas. How was it back then? Because there weren't a bunch of areas back then. It's kind of one area,
Right, it was a little more focused on 6th Street and downtown, and you had a few South Austin venues, like the Continental Club, which is still around, places like that. But that seemed, at least for my scene, which was more in the country scene that I kind of came here to play.
Did you find it welcoming?
Oh yeah, very welcoming.
Nice.
There were gigs. There was, you could sit in. There was open mics. You could always, coming from where I was coming from, which is a small town in New York, it was like there was almost no music, really.
Yeah.
To come to Austin, where like every night of the week was like, a cool band or like a cool scene, like there was multiple things to go out and see every night, was cool.
Yeah.
And then to be able to play, okay, well, you can open up for us, or you can, play our break, or play, or come up and sit in. It was very welcoming. There was like an instant connection.
That's awesome.
In that scene, like I said, it was kind of rockabilly, country, alt country, I
Right.
guess what they called it
Right.
back then.
Yeah.
Before sort of the indie, the Americana.
Right.
You know.
Pre-Americana
Yeah, it's
label.
like alt country. You know, we were playing and we were listening to traditional classic country. You know, so that was the scene. You know, places like the Continental Club, like I said, and you know the Black Cat Lounge on 6th Street. And
Did Broken Spoke still exist?
yeah, Broken
Back
Spoke was
still
there. Yeah, and I
right.
played there back then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. In Green Hall, you know, there was regional places. It was very welcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
How do you deal with now? For those of you who don't know Craig's music, he has a jazz group that he performs with, and then he also has like an alt country Americana, whatever you want to call that.
Right.
Sort of. What do you like to? What's the label that you give?
Singer-songwriter Americana. You know, I had, you know, moved down here to play that sort of originally, and then that lasted a couple years, and quickly, you know, I kind of got more into the jazz, trying to write and play jazz, and that became the Lucky Strikes, which has lasted 20-something years, and that's, you know, but back then that sort of took off in a big way in the 90s when the scene was growing.
Yeah.
And it just happened that jazz was, or swing music,
that's resurgence.
got really big, and so that helped with a lot of gigs and a lot of work.
Yeah.
So
Keep
and
you
we
busy.
you know we recorded a bunch and toured and put out like three records. So
Have you ever backed other people in their band projects, or have you always been a lead guy?
mostly lead, but I've done, you know, some session work, and I've backed up. You know, I've played in a few bands over the years with other folks. I mean, I played for a while with an artist, Penny Jopoulos, who's another Austin songwriter. And then I guess the most recent is this friend of mine, Luke Walker, that's an artist that lives here. And I play guitar with his band.
Cool.
You know, lead
feel like-
guitar.
Yeah.
So we're doing some stuff this month.
In the same genre? Would you say?
Similar, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, singer-songwriter.
Cool.
He does a little country. He's a little more pop, I guess,
gotcha.
than maybe what I do. But
Yeah.
yeah, similar. And a similar set of musicians that we sort of play with.
The hired guns.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah.
But so, you know, once in a while I'll get a call to do come and play you know, guitar for somebody or something.
Yeah.
But
you're pretty busy with your own stuff.
mostly, I mean, mostly between my solo stuff and the jazz, it takes up most of the week.
Consumes most of your life.
Yeah.
Tell me, who were the artists that you were steeped in as you grew up, and who you think still infuse in some way your sound and your composition style?
Well, the people that I seem to go back to music-wise, I mean, whether it's, you know, writing or listening to or just connecting with, it seems like, and I've gotten this before, like Elvis Costello, sometimes people say that, they hear that. So that was a big one growing up. And people like Bruce Springsteen and Neil Young and Paul McCartney. I mean, those are like the main ones.
Yeah.
You know.
Is there a song that you can kind of point to that just made you think, or like really early on, you know, that made you think, God, I wish I would have wrote that song, and now I'm going to aspire to write something as great as that one day?
You know, would probably think maybe something like Allison from Elvis Costello. You know.
Yeah. That's a classic.
It's a classic, you know.
It's hard to argue with that.
And it even has a little bit of the country, you know, element.
Yeah.
There's some Springsteen stuff probably that might fall in that category. That Nebraska record
Yeah.
was
a big one.
Was a big one for me, where it was like all stripped down and acoustic, and it's like, wow, this is like some amazing like timeless folk record. You know, that after hearing like, you know, Born to Run and the River or whatever,
Right.
you know, Born in the USA, it's like then you put on, you know, you hear Nebraska and it's like, wow, where's this been?
Yeah.
It's like these are like timeless classic
Yeah.
tunes that kind of hit me pretty hard early on.
Have you ever kind of come to a point in your, because you've been at it for a long time,
Yeah.
you know, and you had, you know, little sprinklings of economic success, maybe we could call it that, and probably, you know, in terms of like playing gigs that really felt
Yeah.
satisfying,
Right.
you know. But it's, I think I remember, I don't know who said it, but it's kind of like, you know, you spend all of this time to get this sort of little moment of gratification in the work as a performer, you know, as a songwriter, maybe different, you know, but in terms of that performance, the line between how much effort you put into the thing and how much gratification you get from the thing, usually leaves you ending up in the red somewhere.
Usually.
Yeah, and so I'm just wondering, like, what do you, you know, how do you struggle with that? Have you ever thought, like, what am I doing? And you know, maybe my time would be better served in some other occupation.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody probably thinks about that, but you know, luckily in music, you get like these little victories.
Yeah,
You know,
that's what keeps you going.
that keeps you going.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, whether it can even be like the next song. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, well, you just finished a tune. It's like, wow, this is like, you know, this sounds pretty good. Or what, you know, you might be, that might propel you to the next thing.
Totally.
It's like, now I get to play my new song, you know, and see what, maybe this will be,
how the world.
maybe this will be something,
Yeah.
you know, or whether it's recording, you know, putting out the next record, or, you know, playing a really cool gig. Yeah, it's just, you know, like I said, I mean, you get to, the long-term struggle, it's like, it can be exhausting.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Totally.
like where if you measure it along that scale.
Yeah, if you literally stop to think about what you're doing, the key in this industry is don't stop and don't think.
You
Just
know,
go.
It's very long
Forge
term.
ahead.
You know, so I guess it depends how you measure it.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean,
Well, what's the most gratifying thing for you? You know, as you've progressed in your career and as you know, continue to do what you're doing, like, where do you find the most satisfaction? Where the moment, your counting of the moment vanishes and you're really lost in the experience of it. Is in the recording process? Is it performing live? Is it depending on the gig live? Is it just in the songwriting process when you're just in your room and you're with your guitar? And where is that moment that just feels like, like this is why I do it?
I think it's connecting with the listener.
Yeah.
And it's like when you have, maybe you play your new song or whatever song, you know, a song that you really feel captures your, you know, your art,
Yeah.
and the people get it.
Yeah.
You know, and that can be one guy, one person, at a house. You know, it can be, you know, when somebody comes up to you after your show or whatever, wherever you are, and they're like, wow, that song was great. You know, that it's like, where can I get that song?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
or maybe another artist is like, I want to cover that song.
Yeah.
You know, those kind of moments
Yeah.
are the ones that keep you going. For me,
Yeah.
it's like, wow, that's like, okay, that's, you know, that tells you, yeah, it's worth, you know,
It's worth all the other
the struggle,
hoops that
you
you
know,
jump through.
to where you really connected with that person, with that listener, you know.
Can you remember like
So-
a really great piece of feedback that you got that really just stuck with you?
Well, I was in the studio today, listening back to a track that with my producer, you with a song that that has gotten some attention from some when I play it live, called Hard Days.
Yeah.
And so we were listening today, and it's like, wow, this is, you know what? He was like, this is something.
Yeah.
This is like, this has got some gravity.
Nice.
This could be important.
Yeah.
So that it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well,
let's talk about your producer and
yeah.
talk about this new record that you're doing.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about who this person is that you're working with, and apparently that you have worked with for a number of years.
Yeah. This guy, Robert Harrison, good friend of mine. He's with a band called Cotton Mather. Long time Austin kind of pop rock and roll band. But he's also a great kind of visionary producer, and he works with some other artists, and he's produced my last 2 records, and now this will be the 3rd. So
Obviously doing something right.
Yeah,
good chemistry.
Yeah, we work well together, and he's kind of gets what I do.
And how far are you into the record so far?
Pretty far. We're almost done tracking.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple other, like a vocal and a couple harmonies and a couple overdubs, and then we'll be ready to mix.
Nice. And do you have notable guest artists that you can mention?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to work with, some friends that I've worked with in the past, couple records that play or sing, like Patterson Barrett, who plays a lot of the steel guitar and a lot of mandolin and some other cool stuff, dobro and baritone, and
Nice.
He's like a versatile
utility guy.
Yeah, and he plays live with me a lot when he's in town.
Yeah.
But he's in Nashville a lot.
Okay.
But he's great, and then some great piano players that I've worked with for years, Derek Morris and Kevin Lovejoy, who's a great player. And then some harmony singers. I tend to get my friend Betty Sue, who's a really cool
she's great.
Folk artist, singer-songwriter in town, and great harmony singer. And she's been on my last couple. Some of the guys I play with live, the guy I played here with at your concert,
Yeah. What was his name?
Rich
again?
Bauer,
Richard.
and he's on percussion and sounds great. And then Roger, my guitar player, Roger Solenberger, is on a couple things, and so it's a good mix.
If you had to decide what genre, and you couldn't do the other genre, which one would you lean towards?
I mean, as a songwriter, I'd probably stick with what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
This kind of singer-songwriter Americana thing.
You're a pretty competent jazz writer, from what I've heard.
I wrote a bunch of jazz tunes back when we were full-time.
Yeah.
When I was only doing that through the 90s.
Right.
And we were recording, and we had a full-time, band that was always the same band.
Right.
And we were all arranging together, and it was a thing. It was like I'd bring in new songs. I mean, I wrote probably 50 songs back then.
Yeah.
And we recorded 3 records of almost all original.
Wow.
So but after that, I kind of felt that's period writing. It's very it's retro.
Yeah.
I mean, you're writing a style that's definitely a throwback.
Right.
Or I was anyway.
Right.
I'm trying to write standards, swing and standards. So it was like, it was fun. It was great. And it was great to explore that genre and try to write that. I mean, it's like some of the, coolest composers ever.
Yeah.
But, after doing that much of it, I felt drawn towards, okay, let's write something that's, today's music.
Yeah.
I guess.
Sure.
And so.
Sort of.
Yeah. I still like throwback, classic country.
Yeah.
But it's more personalized. It's more, to me, it's more of a, it's not just a purely stylized retro thing that I'm doing. It's a more, it's more personal.
Right.
And it's more what speaks to me now.
It's not feeling as true to,
right.
to your soul these days.
Yeah. And so I had gotten out of the jazz, era around the early 2000s and returned to writing, pop regular rock songs.
Yeah.
Which I did for about 10 years or about 8 years. Yeah, about 10 years. Pretty much up to the last, till around 2010 or something. And then that's when I, started on my latest kind of version of more the country thing. And then that led to what's become, these 3 records. And also Austin, I was playing solo gigs and band gigs
Right.
as Craig Marshall, but a lot of that was in kind of the indie pop scene. And Austin is not a huge pop town.
Right.
So, there was not a lot of audience for that.
Right.
So when I gravitated towards more of Americana, acoustic-oriented stuff, I found a lot more
Welcoming ears.
a lot more people. Yeah, a lot more venues, a lot more audience, and a lot more, crowds.
Yeah.
A lot more people that would really listen.
Yeah.
And so that helped.
I was going to say, who do you feel represents well in country? It doesn't even have to be contemporary, but, you're referencing kind of country a lot, and yet many of the artists that you talked about that you were sort of reared in weren't country artists.
Right.
So
More of the rock thing.
Yeah, so who's doing it right, you think, or who do you like or reference?
That's still going now?
Yeah, or maybe they could have
yeah.
passed or whatever. I mean,
Yeah. I sort of went back and discovered people like Buck Owens and Merle Haggard and George Jones and, the Everly Brothers and Graham Parsons and all that. But then and Emmylou Harris, I guess, and stuff like that. But then more recent, and Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
But then, that led to like Dwight Yoakam, who I think still is pretty valid artist today. There's guys out there that do some cool stuff. There's a band in town, based here called the Mastersons, which are pretty cool, sort of Americana band.
Yeah.
And guys like John Fulbright is a pretty great songwriter out of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That I got to play with. But like, Jim Lauderdale is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And he's a little bit retro, classic country, but he's cool. It was always about the song for me. I was always a song guy. I needed a good, I liked hooks. I liked, catchy melodies and hooky choruses. And so I would always go back to that, more of the pop side of things. But
if there was an artist that you could work with today, in your sort of ideal world, who would that be? Do you have anybody in mind?
As a
collaborative, either as a, collaborating on a song or collaborating as a performance
in production or
or
something.
even as or an ideal producer that you like to work with.
There's probably a few. I like Gary Louris from the Jayhawks quite a bit. Their sound has always been, pretty big for me.
Yeah.
This artist Ron Sexsmith is a great songwriter.
Local guy?
Canadian.
Oh, I'm thinking of somebody else. Okay.
Yeah, Ron Sexsmith from Canada.
Yeah.
Great writer.
Well, let's change gears a little
Yeah.
bit. You know, both of us are sort of getting up there in age in this industry. You know, we're old timers kind of in relationship to what's being churned out. Although I'm encouraged by the fact that there are more people. This is an interesting story. So, you know, pop artists in France can be in their 50s or 60s and still be legit.
Yeah.
And not just have a fan base of other 50-year-olds or whatever. Like,
Right.
It's a weird thing to sort of observe because here our pop artists are totally
It's a younger
connected to beauty and youth.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's totally marketed in that.
Yeah.
So the idea of having a 50-year-old pop artist would be
Yeah.
like, you know, Tom Jones appealing to, you know, his age demographic
Right.
in Vegas or something like that.
I mean, luckily, I think in the Americana world, you can be a little bit older artist.
Totally.
You know, so there's like some of the big names in that world are like, you know, much older than me. I
Right.
mean, you know,
Right.
your Ray Wiley Hubbards and your, you know, James McMurtry's. I mean, you know,
Totally.
some of the huge names in that
Yeah.
in that sort of scene
Yeah.
are much older artists.
Yeah.
So that, you know, we've got that going for us.
Totally.
You know, so that's encouraging.
Yeah.
Where you don't, you know, it's more of an ageless market.
Right.
You know, when you get into that, you know, when I was doing the indie pop rock thing,
Totally.
that's a more younger scene.
Yeah.
And it's a more band driven scene.
Very.
And I was trying to do it as a solo guy.
Right.
I mean, I had a band, but it was my name.
Right.
So that was like a little bit disconnected, you know,
Yeah.
when you're trying to rock, you know,
Totally.
Red River or whatever, you know,
Right.
whatever that version in other
The
cities.
Mohawk or
Yeah.
whatever.
You know,
Yeah.
the indie rock, you know, scene
Totally.
when you're, you know, one guy and you're, you know, not 25.
Right. Yeah.
So that, you know, luckily the more folky acoustic Americana scene is a little more age
It's
friendly.
a little forgiving.
Yeah,
in that
I mean,
way.
I go to these folk events and I'm the youngest guy there, or at least I look like it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's like definitely an older scene.
Right.
So, which is not like, you know, like you said. I mean, it'd be nice to have a younger market.
Do you feel like you've intentionally, I guess, have you forsaken certain kind of personal things in terms of the idea of having family, or I mean, are those choices that you've made consciously, or
Not
have they been
really.
difficult because of your lifestyle, because you're so
Yeah.
busy with the music, or how is that
It's
factored in?
not been a, you know, conscious. I mean, it's just been, you know, circumstantial. You know,
Yeah.
it's just whatever. It's like, well, you know, that's what happens. I guess when you're full-time music in a place like Austin,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes, you know, you might miss out on the family, you know, thing in your 30s or whatever
certain
that.
amount of personal stuff
Yeah,
ends up
yeah.
going by the wayside.
Right. But I'm, you know, I'm not, it's not like I oppose that,
Right.
but it just, yeah, that's where it is so far,
Yeah.
you know, but yeah.
Do you miss that? Do you ever think about that?
Sometimes you miss that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
Grass is always greener.
Yeah, you know, yeah, because you talk to friends or family that have all that,
Yeah.
like they wish they had your life.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, but whatever.
it's
you
so
know,
true.
So it's, yeah.
Would you want to play a song? You want to give us a little ditty? How you feeling?
Can play a tune.
Yeah. Something off the new record?
I could.
Or whatever you
I
want.
could try that.
Yeah, whatever
Yeah.
you feel like
Cool.
you're inclined towards. Cool. We'll set it up.
All right. All
All
right.
right. So Craig's going to do a little
Yeah.
song for us. Now, tell me a little bit about this
Yeah.
song.
Here's one. It's called "Before the Days Have Gone."
Okay. Is this on the new record?
Yeah, it'll be on the new one.
Awesome.
Been playing it out for, you know, probably about a year or something.
Okay. So the
But-
song is about a year old?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, lay it down. Tell us a little bit about this beautiful guitar that you're playing here.
Yeah, this is the Gibson J50 that I've had. It's a 65, but I got it I don't know, about 15 years ago.
Nice.
But play it out all the time, so it gets beat up.
Yeah,
But
it sounds beautiful, looks beautiful, and
it's got the
weathered way.
yeah, it's been played a lot, but it's got the tone.
Yeah. All right, man, do your thing.
I remember what it felt just like. It was summer, but it won't last long. Getting into trouble every night before the days have gone. So it always seems to be like this. You and me, we gotta both move on. Could you stick around for one more kiss before the days have gone? Life is on the wheels of time, letting all the years unwind. Why delay with hesitation while the race is far from done? I could have another crazy dream. Maybe you could even come along, stealing every moment in between before the days have gone. Life is on the wheels of time, letting all the years unwind. Why delay with hesitation while the race is far from done? I could have another crazy dream. Maybe you could even come along, stealing every moment in between before the days have gone. I remember what it felt just like. It was summer, but it won't last long, stealing every moment in between before the days have gone. Before the days have gone. Before the days have gone. Yeah, before the days have gone.
Beautiful.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. Tell people where they can find your music.
Yeah. Online?
Yeah.
Well,
It's more specifically.
my website is the easiest, I guess, craigmarshall.com. That's
Okay.
easy.
Yep.
Just my name. And then I've got, iTunes, I've got Facebook, I've got, Reverb Nation and all the typical streaming sites.
What were your some? We didn't kind of go over, but just quickly, what are some of your claims to fame? I know you told me one of your songs was included in an HBO documentary.
Yeah, I've had a few things.
And of course you're award winning. So what did that entail?
The Austin Songwriters Group.
Yeah.
That I am a part of, and that's pretty big in the Austin scene.
Yeah.
I mean, they do like a conference every year, and they do weekly events that everyone can go to.
Yeah.
And they have competitions.
Gotcha.
So I've entered the 2016 their song competition.
Okay.
And then was named the Songwriter of the Year at their annual conference. So
Nice.
for that year. So that was cool.
Nice validation.
But that's kind of nice. And I still do some of their events.
Yeah.
I do well. I've had some licensing stuff. So some TV stuff and some film stuff. I mean, I had a song of mine called Small Reminder that was featured in a feature film out of Hollywood last, it goes back a couple years, called My Uncle Raphael.
Okay, cool.
And then, and a few other features. I made a song that was in a film last year, in a horror film.
Yeah. Oddly enough.
A country song in a horror film.
Great.
A song called "Few and Far Between" in a film called Muck.
Okay.
So
wow.
you get all kinds.
Yeah.
And then I've had some other artists
Cover your
either play it or record it.
Yeah.
I had a song with Charlie Faye.
Oh yeah.
Who's an Austin artist. Charlie Faye and the Fayettes.
Yeah.
We did a co-write on her record last year.
Nice.
That was one of the singles.
Mm-hmm.
So there was I get stuff like that once in a while. That's kind of cool.
Do you have any big plans for this next record when it drops? Do you feel like you're gonna put some effort and time and energy into really kind of marketing it and getting it out more visibly, you think, than some of your previous work? Are you kind of just gonna approach it in the same regard, or?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's always you see what happens, but I'll definitely be out there.
Yeah.
Maybe South by Southwest
Yeah.
might pick it up. I mean, you never know. I mean, if I can get KUTX or Sun Radio to really
Show it some love.
to feature it more, and we'll try. I've got publicity. People that I tend to use.
Yeah.
That help, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I might. I've got some of the more folk markets that I've been playing, in the scene more.
Yeah.
Folk Alliance, some of the Kerrville people, and so you never know.
Yeah.
Or some of the, some of these, songwriter festivals
Right.
that I've been doing
Yeah.
that might, latch onto it. You never know.
Yeah.
But we'll see
Yeah.
what we can do.
Yeah,
I mean, and then they can catch me playing, live
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, basically
So-
just check your website, craigmarshall.com, and that has all your. Are you good about keeping your events listed
Try to be
current?
pretty
on there?
current.
Yeah.
Monthly stuff. I mean, I've got.
Are you using the bands in town at all?
I do.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great platform to
Yeah.
just sort of auto populate some of that stuff.
Yeah, there was one. I mean, I've got this month. I've got the Hole in the Wall coming up with a band, and my regular stuff, House Wine,
Yeah.
that I do every other Wednesday.
Okay. Some we use steady gigs,
Yeah,
bread
yeah.
and butter gigs that you're people can catch you consistently.
Yeah, so that's easy. But
Awesome.
but yeah, I'll shooting for South by Southwest next year, and we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. And when do you expect the record to drop?
It might be around that time.
Okay.
But I don't know. Sometimes it's best to avoid that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I may...
The cacophony of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want it to get lost in the craziness.
Fray, yeah.
So I may wait.
Yeah, that might be a good move. Holidays are always kind of bad to do that stuff anyway.
So I might wait till later spring or something.
Yeah.
Might be cool.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And then do a summer. Maybe I'll do some out of town stuff during the summer.
A little summer tour.
Yeah, maybe.
Get the hell out of Austin.
Yeah.
That'd be a good time to do it.
Yeah, so that might be cool.
Cool. Craig, thanks, brother.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
It was a pleasure,
Thank you, John.
having you. Pleasure having your song and hearing your music and this context really intimate and beautiful. And
always a pleasure.
Yeah, I wish you all the best.
Yeah, thanks again.
All right, brother. Take care.
It sure was good to meet you. I thought that I could see through that great big smile that told me, won't you give me a call?
Hey, thanks again for joining me on yet another conversation adventure with the prolific Craig Marshall, based out of Austin, Texas. If you want to check out more of his music, you can check him out on craigmarshall.com. He's got videos on YouTube. He's got, 7 albums out, and they range quite a bit. He's got jazz, great jazz stuff. He's got some really great kind of Britpop stuff, and then he's got this kind of twangy Americana alt country vibe going on with these more recent records. So have a listen if you get a chance to go support him live. He's out there all the time, beating the streets, man. You gotta give it up for guys like that. I don't have that constitution. I'm way too lazy for that. Thanks again for listening, you guys. More to come. If you like what you're hearing with this podcast, please go to my website, thewisdomdistillery.net, and support me on the Patreon page. I actually need to get that thing kind of more organized, but yeah, man, whatever you can throw, that'd be great. If you have any requests or things that you would like explored in a conversational tone, hit me up via email at thewizddizpodcast@gmail.com. Love to get the feedback. Keeps me motivated to do these things, even though I'm motivated by my own curiosity. So that definitely keeps me going. But yeah, the more I hear from you guys, the better. Thanks again for listening. I know time is a rare commodity these days, so I appreciate you giving me some of yours. We'll see you next time.